Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 12, Episode number 9. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Glad you guys are back with us for this very busy Friday show here on August 13th. And Dave, the Steelers love to make things extra interesting. You had kickoff last night, and basically right as the Steelers were kicking off in their 24-16 win over the Philadelphia Eagles, they reportedly made a trade, which should become official probably by the time you guys are all listening to this. Steelers reportedly trading for Jaguars linebacker Joe Schobert, and wow, what a surprise of a trade! And we have just a crap ton to talk about today. I'm trying to find the right word for it.
Some of my verbiage is starting to rub off on you there. Boy, I feel refreshed today, and yesterday it seemed like it took the last 3 hours getting to game time like forever, and then right when you get right up on game time with the game starting there, the Joe Schobert news starts to break. You settling in to try to get watching this game and properly get Game Pass tuned in and all like that, and boom. So I guess that's where we're going to start this morning is the trade for Joe Schobert, and I think you and I even said on the even last podcast, we said true or false whether or not someone from the outside, not on this 53, is going to be brought in and ends up making the 53. And I think we both agreed the answer to that was true. I don't think Kevin Colbert's done either, but let's discuss Joe Schobert, a guy that you and I think, have said on the podcast before, get a lot of respect for that guy. Really, really smart player. And boy, the way the inside linebackers have played so far during the preseason, and probably according to probably what you have seen out there at camp, they needed to add a guy like this.
Yeah, let's talk about what we know about the terms of the deal. And again, nothing is official yet. The trade itself is not even official. That's probably pending physicals and should take place formally later this evening, probably around 4 o'clock. But according to Ian Rappaport, who tweeted this out just moments ago on Friday morning, Pittsburgh will, quote, send late-round draft compensation to Jacksonville for Schobert. And so the Steelers do not have a 4th or 5th round pick in the 2022 draft. No 4th from the Loudermilk trade up in this year's draft, and no 5th from the Avery Williamson deal last season. So that should mean a 6th or 7th round pick in 2022, or I suppose maybe something in 2023. So bottom line is the Steelers are giving up very little to get Schobert, and I think what's happening here is Jacksonville, under a new head coach and Urban Meyer, a new regime, is basically salary dumping this contract NBA style, where he signed this mega 5-year, $53 million contract last season. And Jackson was still on the hook for a little bit of that, and reportedly will retain some level of salary. Basically, they're just trying to get off the books the majority of that contract for a late round pick.
Yeah, what we don't know, and it was part of kind of, I think, the initial report last night claiming that the Jaguars were also going to try, take on some of that 2021 salary. None of that's been substantiated yet. It'd be nice if they did. To do something like that. Let's look at things based on just assuming they don't, and that's the fact that Schobert's due a $7 million guaranteed base salary in 2021. He has per game roster bonuses that can max out at $300,000 for the season. The Steelers normally don't like to take on that kind of stuff. Now, I think they did with Vance McDonald a few years ago when they took on that original contract, but it didn't take them long to get those kind of worked out of there, if you will. But let's assume that that's what they're carrying on there. They're not going to let Joe Schobert stay at a 7.3 cap number. So I would expect them, if the Jaguars don't take any of that off their hands, that the Steelers will go to Joe and say, look, let's turn a bulk of that $7 million into a signing bonus probably find a way to wrap in maybe all of that, his complete contract roster bonuses as well too, maybe into that somehow as well too, to get those kind of out of the future as well. So as soon as we learn more about the specifics on this, I'll obviously write it up. But if indeed it's the case that they have to take on the full 7.3 that he's scheduled to make, they'll work that down via a restructure there.
It's just a big contract overall. I mean, it runs still through 2024. Next year, will make 8.75 in 2023 and 2024, over $10 million. Now, the guaranteed money wasn't, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, it wasn't super heavy in that contract. So the Steelers could get out of that deal as early as next season, I suppose, and save money, still have dead money, of course, a considerable amount of it, but have a positive cap savings overall, depending on the restructure and what happens with all that, I suppose. But this is a big contract. It is not a one-year rental type of move a la Avery Williamson. This is a massive contract given out to Schobert last year that Jackson was just trying to get rid of.
Yeah, there are some workout bonuses in there as well too, and I assume Jaguars are already taking that, already paid out that $200,000 this year. He's got $200,000, $200,000 workout bonus in each of 2022, 2023, and 2024. And as I mentioned, the remaining years, including this year, include $300,000 in per game roster bonuses that don't be surprised if the Steelers try to work those out of there as well too. But the only guaranteed money is the base salary this year, and that's a $7 million. So this can be looked on as a rental if you need it. I mean, obviously, if Joe Schobert plays well in 2021 and you want to retain him one more year, $8.75 million isn't a bad price to have. Actually, it'd be depending on what they do with the other 500,000 out there. But let's call it $9 million. $9 million is not a bad price to pay in 2022 if he has a good 2021 season and stays healthy. Obviously, if you want to just part ways, you just cut him outright, and there you go.
Right. So, yeah, I suppose they can get out of it, but to keep him, it's not going to be cheap to do so. It's going to become the question. But, I mean, if you did only hold on to him for a year or two, you're giving up late day 3 compensation, so it's not like you're giving up a whole lot to do so. But just the size of the contract is rare for the Steelers to making August trades for Kevin Colbert's, like drinking water. I mean, he does it all the time, but at this scale, even though it's a late round pick, was the surprise. So, I haven't watched Schobert last season in Jacksonville. I've heard it wasn't a very good season. It wasn't a good season overall for the Jaguars as a team. That's why they're picking number 1 overall. But I just remember him from his Cleveland days and how good he was in the article I wrote. And the first thing that came to mind when the trade got first rumored and kind of announced was that 2019 game in Week 11 against Pittsburgh, that whole Myles Garrett game, and everyone remembers what happened at the end of that one. But Schobert was just a dominant player that game, one of the best performances I've seen from a linebacker against Pittsburgh in recent memory. And so that was the first thing that came to mind when I heard about the trade and went, I bet the Steelers haven't forgotten how good he was in that game and how good he was to me in his 4 years with the Browns. And I think that might be one big reason why this trade was made, because they were so familiar with Schobert and he always seemed to play so well against them.
The first thing I think of when I think of Joe Schobert, other than that game, is, man, I just don't know how many times I've commented whenever the Steelers are watching him in any other game, just thinking, man, how smart is that guy? Always seems to be in the right place. He's good at rushing the passer. He's kind of like Vince Williams was, being able to make those running backs pay in pass pro. He does the same thing. Now he is obviously 28 years old, I think, and obviously has a little bit of mileage on him. Isn't superly athletic, but he makes up for it in technique and all. Very good, I think, at getting off blocks. Very good at reading and coverage. And man, even just a couple years ago, and I think even in that game against the Steelers, there, man, ran the routes for several people in that game and made some good plays. Remember, who was it? Was it Tevin Jones or?
It was Tevin Jones.
Yeah, that he ducked under and had that low interception in that game as well too. So Look, this is an upgrade over what we've seen so far at the inside linebacker. Bless Robert Spillane's heart, but man, you just a liability out there. And the good thing about Schobert too, and I don't know how this is going to pan out. He can obviously wear the green dot for you, if he needs to. You would think that that duty's going to go to Devin Bush, but this is just another quarterback on the field for you, and you get him this far out, still with 3-4 weeks to go until the season starts. Plenty of time to learn that defense, and I mean, he's going to be your starter beside Bush right now moving forward. And tip of the hat to Kevin Colbert, because this one was not so much maybe a surprise that they went out and got attacked the position, but Joe Schobert in general,
Yeah, I mean, Robert Spillane's interesting. I know he didn't have a very good game against Dallas overall, but it is just one game, and I think you look at him in coverage and you see someone that is certainly better in zone than man. And you do get some good reps from him in zone. I mean, he had that, obviously the pick six to Lamar last season. I've seen some reps in Camp 101. He had, Mike Tomlin was just talking about the other day about a good rep he had against Zach Gentry. So you've seen some moments there, but do you find the consistency, overall, is the athleticism that great? It's probably average is how I would describe it. And so if you want to do more man-to-man stuff and out in space, you've seen Spillane struggle in the Cowboys game, getting walked out on third down against running backs. So hopefully Schobert can be an upgrade there. And I think probably maybe an upgrade overall as a run defender as well. But I'll be interested to see how much of an upgrade it really ultimately is.
Right. And now Spillane goes back to special teams. Obviously, Buddy Johnson's making this team, so you have your top four there. I guess the question now becomes, who's number 5, assuming you keep 5, which we think they will.
Right. I'm leaning still Marcus Allen. I think UG3 is getting the squeeze.
Ooh, boy, what a rough game for that kid. UG3 just has not looked good overall, and man, unless he can really start turning it on in these final 2 games on special teams, and at least with a guy like Marcus Allen, you get a little position flexibility there if you, God forbid, you need it. And he's good on special teams, and a second season playing the position as well too there. So UG3 missed a couple more tackles last night, man, and you just can't have that, especially when on top of not being great in coverage and all like that. I think you're right. I think UG3 is the one getting the squeeze right now.
Yeah, and when his first year, I was really impressed because he showed that tackling consistency. And coming at Akron, smaller frame guy, kind of athletic, sometimes would over pursue. You saw a lot of missed tackles, and he felt like he cleaned that up his first year. And then obviously, barely got to see him last season. No preseason, no camp we could attend, and he gets hurt. And then this year, it hasn't been great from a tackling standpoint. But yeah, I mean, last night you kind of saw these linebackers, Devin Bush and Spillane, struggle versus tight ends, and I think this team's always been trying to find a linebacker who can consistently cover a tight end. I think Devin Bush certainly has the traits and the skill set to do it. I think his technique leaves a lot to be desired. And so I think a veteran guy, a smart guy like Schobert's going to give you an upgrade there.
Boy, you look back to last year trading for Avery Williamson, and then fast forward to now trading for Joe Schobert. Joe Schobert's a much better at this point of his career inside linebacker than Avery Williamson was last year there. So, look, it needed to be addressed, I think. And for what was out there, I think Colbert made the right move there. So
I was trying to see. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, were there any pre-draft ties? There was no pre-draft visit with Schobert. I couldn't tell if they were at the Wisconsin Pro Day in 2016 or not. Do you know any information on that?
I did not look. No. I mean, obviously, he is a Wisconsin product. That'll make T.J. Watt happy there, I'm sure. I'll have to search for that, Alex. I didn't look for that.
Yeah, a lot of Wisconsin in that front 7. Loudermilk, Watt, and then now Joe Schobert. So, yeah, I mean, again, I hear from Jacksonville fans that last year was bad, that he looked slow. I don't know how much of that is new system, not getting – in off season, all those obvious caveats, I really couldn't tell you. So I just want to throw that out there that I don't know how good things look last season. I really could not dive into the 2020 Jacksonville tape with his trade being so last second in the game and all that. But in his time in Cleveland, I thought he was a very good linebacker.
Right, and I think overall, once again, the thing that's always jumped out the most about me with him is just his intelligence and being in the right spot and his ability to take on blocks, occasional on pass coverage, and just him as a pass rusher too. Good job at reading, type green dog type blitzes and stuff like that. So he should fit in very well. How he plays, I mean, we'll obviously see, but I mean, it's an upgrade of what they were going to throw out there in week one before this trade.
Yeah, I mean, the guy has 9 career interceptions, 7 over the last 2 seasons. I'm guessing there aren't a ton of off-ball linebackers who have more than 7 interceptions the last 2 seasons, and 2 of those at least came against Pittsburgh in that Week 11 game I referenced earlier.
All right, so now we'll wait for the rest of the trade details, if there are any specifics, and whether or not the Jaguars ate any of that 2021 salary or not.
Yeah, it sounds like they have, but nothing official. And a lot of people asking me, is James Washington part of this trade? He did not play last night. Some people probably had a correlation there. Very, very unlikely. All the reporting does not indicate that. Washington had a knee injury, so that's almost certainly the reason why he did not play. So do not expect Washington to trade hands in this deal, in this trade.
Okay.
All right, Dave, let's talk about the game last night. There was a game last night, and after all, the Steelers won at 24-16 to move to 2-0 on the preseason. Mason Rudolph getting the start, but Dwayne Haskins kind of stealing the show with, hoping to lead that comeback. Pittsburgh's in a 13-0 hole. Haskins leading some touchdown drives and just consistently drove the offense down the field.
Yeah, he seemed a lot more poised and relaxed in this game overall. Look, I thought Rudolph and Haskins both played well in this game, and I thought. The penalties early in this game really handicapped the offense. You just can't take penalties like that, and it's just tough to overcome on drives. And obviously Rudolph, and when he was out there, they didn't finish any of the drives with scores. Haskins did in his time in there, and that obviously gets a plus mark there. He pushed the football down the field a whole heck of a lot more than he did in that game against Dallas there. I have his average yards per attempt, air yards per attempt, and average yards per completion just under 7. But if you add in, which I haven't gone back and done yet, I usually do when I get the charting back from Tom. If you add in the couple throws into the end zone and add that end zone yardage into it, it's probably going to be right at 7. There, both numbers. The good thing about both quarterbacks is their average yards per attempt and their average yards per completion were almost right on top of each other. And that, of course, matches the fact that they both had high completion percentages on top of it there. Both, I thought, look, that laser from Mason to Juju early in the game was a good throw and catch. Him dropping that one in the bucket to Deontay down the right side was a good play. And then Haskins hitting Bussey and
Cody White.
I think both in cover 2 situations there were good throws. Look, people will have different opinions about the free play. Some will say, well, how do you not make that throw? And others will circle the wagons for it. You do what you have to do there, plain and simple. If you get a free play there, take advantage of it. I don't care how you did it. He did a good job of leaking out to his right there and buying a little time there. And it's not his fault there were 3 open guys and wide open in the end zone there. You make him pay for it, and he did. So you get a plus mark for that as well too. And really the only the only 2 kind of demerits that I have on him was that throw to McCoy early in the game where he leaked out to his left there, and then the turning the wrong way on the busted play there, and whether or not he was the one that turned the wrong way or the running back went the wrong way. I had to go back and look at that again, so it might not even be fully on him. But those are really the only two demerits there. He almost had one picked off, I think, by a linebacker, but that's it.
Yeah, and even on the incompletion to McCoy, maybe McCoy didn't move into a soft spot. It was hard to tell from our angle, should McCoy have kind of drifted and got himself more open than what he did on that play. And on that free play, sure, it was a layup touchdown to Anthony Johnson, but it was the hard count from Haskins that drew the defense offside. So that's the important part of the play, and that was a good use of cadence there, the way that Ben has so effectively used it over even recent years. And so that was the important part of the play, was that you drew the defense offsides to create the free play. So I give Haskins all the credit on that play.
It doesn't say all that in the box score. It just says touchdown pass from Haskins to Anthony Johnson in the yardage last time I looked there. But look, once again, it's funny to sit here on Twitter and watch the Rudolph, Haskins, and Dobbs people all go at each other. But the fact of the matter is, once again, you get a free play situation like that, capitalize on it, and he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was the way to sum up the night for Haskins. Was he was capitalizing, and the offense was finishing drives and came back in that one. And sure, to be fair to Rudolph, I mean, he put together some good drives. His penalties just became killers, and they're going to ruin any sort of drive regardless of who your quarterback is. So, yeah, I don't think either of those guys were bad last night, but I was impressed to see Haskins definitely drive the football downfield more, something he didn't really do in that first game, and just be effective. Just finish drive with points, which is your ultimate goal as a quarterback.
And then even on the pass interference on the end zone to Bussey, I believe that was on that route there. You want to make the team, a wide receiver makes that contested catch there. And yeah, it was a pass interference. So you get a do-over there, you get the yardage and all like that. But, the ball was there to be caught.
Yeah, it was. And I think it should have been caught. It was a little bit behind maybe, but Bussey's got to make that play. And he kind of made up for it later on that whole shot that Haskins talked about, because that throw from Haskins was a little wobbly. And so a nice job there by Bussey to come down with it.
I guess the big talking point, and it's already started now, is people will say, well, Haskins should be the number 2 now. Haskins should get higher, work with first or second team this next game. Where do you come in on that?
Well, my thought last night was, if Haskins didn't do anything to start to really close that gap, that the battle would probably be just about over. But obviously that wasn't the case last night. I thought Haskins was able to really put on a good showing. So, do you start to change reps? I don't know. I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea in practice, at least. But I think that conversation at least continues a little while longer with the way Haskins played last night.
And here's the other thing on the flip side of it, to add context to it here. I don't even, did Philadelphia even blitz last night? I mean, it was pretty. And it usually is. I mean, it was super vanilla stuff there. So, a lot of things that quarterbacks would see during a regular season with against the first team, they obviously aren't seeing during the preseason there. Here's the way I think I would handle this right now. I would go ahead. Obviously, Tomlin said Ben's going to start and play against Detroit. How long he plays, it'll be interesting to see there. I mean, I don't know what you're looking maybe to prove at that point, depending on how long Ben plays. But maybe you do send Haskins into the game earlier. If not, then in the preseason finale, then I let Haskins play pretty much the whole damn game.
Sure. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, you want to have as thorough and complete of an evaluation as possible on the guy. You have a really good idea on who Rudolph is, and he still needs and deserves snaps and an opportunity. But you really want to feel like you know as much as you possibly can about Dwayne Haskins. So the more opportunity he gets, I think the better.
I still have the depth chart: Ben, Mason, Dwayne, and Dobbs.
Yeah, me too. But Haskins, I think, at least that, again, keeps that conversation going a little while longer.
I like some of his comments after the game, and talking about Mike Sullivan, and how his message was to be a jazz player and smooth and all like that. So I think you're starting to see a little bit of the influence having a longtime veteran, disciplined quarterback coach in the form of Mike Sullivan can have a little bit of an impact, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, no, 100%. I thought the most interesting comment from Haskins was he talked about how much fun he had. He said it was the most fun he had in a game since he came into the league, which is pretty striking. Obviously, I guess it's maybe not a big surprise considering how bad things went in Washington, but just seems like a guy that is confident and relaxed and enjoying himself, and again, not feeling that pressure of every single move being micromanaged and the weight of being the captain, of the franchise guy, the savior of the team that he was billed when Washington drafted him 15th overall. So just a guy who seems relaxed and confident, and that might be making a big difference.
Yeah, I think with him too. Look, I understand the excitement most of the fan base has with him, but what we said right from the start as soon as they brought him on board was, you mark lines in the sand there. Can he make it to training camp? All right, get into training camp. How does he do during the preseason there? You keep checking these things off, and there's no reason to rush him right now. Heck, Ben's the starting quarterback of this team right now, and something what I said right from the start from ahead of preseason is and ahead of training camp is that Mason really, I think, has to do something horrible to lose the number 2 spot, and I don't think he's done that yet. A good season on the sideline holding the clipboard for Dwayne Haskins is not the worst thing in the world, assuming he checks off all these boxes during the preseason here.
Right. So I mean, by phrasing it that way, and I get what you're saying, Rudolph would have to do something horrible, and he hasn't done anything horrible. So even if Haskins continues to play well, is it still just Rudolph going to keep that job because, assuming he doesn't self-implode, he was already the number 2?
Well, I don't think Rudolph's done anything, played poorly,
But right, that's what I'm saying. So basically, like you still don't really see the window for Haskins to jump Rudolph because Rudolph has not played poorly yet.
Not that it can't. It's just that I haven't seen it yet.
Right. Well, time's running out. I mean, Ben's going to play some this next game, so the odds of that happening seem low at this point.
But depending on, I don't know what the quarterback rotation is going to be, and how, it all depends, how much Ben plays and all like that. But when you get to that finale, that preseason finale, why not let Haskins play 3 full quarters and then let Dobbs mop it up there or whatnot,
Sure. Yeah, no, I totally understand. So, regardless of the big picture stuff from last night, a really good performance from Haskins, that Rudolph was decent, and then Dobbs, interception on his first pass, and he's just kind of,
What did you not like that Rudolph did?
It was so crazy last night. I'm trying to process the whole game. I was like trying to do Schobert stuff and get game notes and all that kind of stuff. I don't think there's anything in particular I didn't like. Obviously, the thing that will knock Rudolph is the offense just not getting points when he's on the field, and some of that has been penalties and turnovers and things like that. But the offense has not finished drives when he's been out there, and he's not responsible for all of that. But he is the quarterback, and the buck stops with him. And so, what people will look at is that Haskins leading them to 30 points this season. Rudolph has not led a touchdown drive, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be the overarching point to knock Rudolph.
Okay.
And then obviously the interception there, and
I'd like to see the all 22 of that. Unfortunately, we won't. I want to see I don't know what the heck he was looking at there.
Right, I've seen that in camp. He just wants to try to really drive the football, and he'll get away with that sometimes because his arm's pretty live. But sometimes he will force a pass, and he got he paid the price there. All right, Dave. Let's talk about the offensive line, and I thought a good showing overall. Especially, I think the second team that came in. I think the Steelers, and Tomlin noted this in his post game presser, really kind of dominated and won the line of scrimmage as the game went along. They really started to wear down Philadelphia, and that second team offensive line for Pittsburgh, in particular, I thought played really well. Especially that duo of Dan Moore at left tackle and Kevin Dotson at left guard. Now you might expect Dotson to play pretty well at left guard, a second team running against Eagles backups, but more in particular, I thought had a really strong showing last night.
I thought Dotson was looked like a first teamer playing against some second and third teamers.
Right.
I mean, he really did look good in that game overall. Really stuck out to me. I thought Dan Moore played well. Kendrick Green, rough night for him, I thought. Let's see. Trey Turner, not the best showing for him, I didn't think. And Joe Haig, meh,
He can run block. His pass pro is the big worry with me.
Right.
And then a core four, it didn't look good. I'm always careful to judge offensive linemen, especially negatively first time through. But it didn't feel like. But the context there would be it's his first game, and so there was probably a good deal of rust to knock off.
Let's see. Yeah, Dotson just look. I mean, when that second team offensive line got in there for a couple series there, it really showed. I mean, Mike Tomlin said the conditioning of the big guys was there, and they really looked like they were the team that had played the extra preseason game at that point. I mean, they were just manhandling. Good push all the way around there for the most part. Even Hassenhauer didn't look awful. B.J. Finney, once again, better guard than he is center. And I thought he had, and even back-to-back plays, I think you saw on a couple of counter runs. B.J. Finney going right to left on a pull, nice block. And then the play right after it, Kevin Dotson coming back the other way. And I think Freiermuth was on that counter too. And Freiermuth did a good job blocking on that play as well too. So, Rashad Coward, I didn't think it was an overly great game for him. Kendrick Green, I didn't think it was an overly great game for him. And Trey Turner, and not an overly great game for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Green on that one rep I think it was against Milton Williams, just got pushed right into the pocket. And I've seen that, on his tape at Illinois, when he can't get his hands into you because some of the size, length limitations, and he's not in control of that block. I mean, he just gets run backwards. And so he really got put on skates bad on that play. I don't know how bad the rest of it was, but that was an ugly rep.
Yeah, couldn't drop anchor at all there. And a couple of hooks he missed. It looked like in the running game there. Not his best showing.
Yeah, on that bull rush, I mean, it's so tough to defend the bull, because the idea that you're going to stall out every single rush and just hold ground is going to be tough to do at this level. So usually you kind of get taught a hop step where you give ground to be able to reset and re-anchor, and maybe that's something he's got to work on. But it's not easy, but you're going to face a lot of big, strong interior defensive linemen in the NFL.
The penalties too. You just hate, Mike Tomlin talked ahead of this game about playing clean and all like that, and they certainly didn't do that early with the offensive line. When you have a false start, I think a core four had a false start. I think Trey Turner had a hold. Who else?
Freiermuth got called for holding.
Right,
early. Line, but yeah, right. His first snap actually, he said it was called for holding. So welcome to the NFL moment, he said.
Right. Let's see the rest of the offensive line. The second teamers, I thought really played well, and that was kind of the difference in that game was the way the Steelers offensive line played. From midway through the second quarter on.
And with a good offensive line came a good running game and some good performances overall from guys like Anthony McFarland, Jalen Samuels, Tony Brooks-James, and even a good run by your boy, little Petey Guerrero. And so just a good day overall on the ground. And I'm usually very critical of Jalen Samuels. I thought a nice game for him. Yeah,
look, all those McFarland really looked sharp. Made a lot of good runs, and the goal line run in itself. If that's the only way that you're going to grade, if that's the only play that you're going to grade him off of, great job, because it looked like he was stymieing in the backfield. Did a good job of working out of that to his left and getting the ball in the end zone. And a guy for he's not he's not Chris Rainey, he's not Dree Archer, but he's a little bit on the smaller side, obviously. But for him to kind of show that power again, and especially between the tackles and the goal line, short yardage situation there, I thought that was his best run of the night. Now he did have other nice runs as well too. One over to the left side where you can kind of see if he can get that corner, man, he can go. But I mean, you look at just the overall run success rate of this team last night. What did I have here? Let me see if I can find it.
It was
here.
like 63%.
Oh God, yeah,
it
was
Let's do that in the.
Oh boy, yeah,
that's not gonna happen.
Just keep running it there. Let's see if I.
It was about 63%. It was a really 24-38. I forget what the number was, but
24-38, 63.2% runs Thursday night were successful. Those are non-penalty plays and without kneel downs or the one busted play there. So, well, 50%, man. You give me over 50%, you got to be happy there, and that's just an obscene number right there.
Yeah, I think the offensive line had a lot to do with it, but on a day where some of your guys that are likely to make the team, like Benny Snell and Kalen Ballage, do not play, you're still getting a really strong run game. And guys like Brooke James, I mean, he's got some juice to his game. I kind of like his explosiveness and some of that lateral mobility. And so, yeah, I thought, the line blocked well, but those runners ran well.
Before I forget, take your hat off and hand it to Anthony McFarland, a kickoff coverage tackle.
Yeah, maybe even two of them. I'm not even sure. It was at least one, though. Yeah. And so I think, was that right after his touchdown, I want to say?
It was the third quarter. Yeah, I think it was. It was on the kickoff after that. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so score the touchdown and then run down the kick. That is the life of a backup. But, yeah, kudos to him. He did have one fumble, though, I think, that he did recover. And ball security is so important, so you want to make sure you're taking care of the football.
All right, wide receiver-wise, Juju, nice contested catch early. Great route by Deontay down the right side on the deep catch there. Cody White, we talked a little bit about, guy maybe to watch in this game because the Steelers have hung on to him all this time. Did some okay things, I thought. McCoy's not rising up to the occasion, I don't think. Bussey, I would have liked to seen Bussey make that contested catch on the pass interference that we talked about earlier there. Who else?
Yeah, well, Bussey had the whole shot to make up for it. That was a good catch, I think, in some traffic overall. I thought a nice performance from him on the day. McCoy's an awkward guy to have as a punt returner. He's got to get vertical there. Losing 7, yeah. I'm not really sure why kick return, I guess I can see, but the punt return, he's kind of a longer strider guy, not really suited for punt return duties, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean,
did you see any Matthew Sexton out there on offense? Was it late?
I'm sure he was out there. I don't personally have any memory of any impression of him last night. Let me see. Nor Tyler Simmons.
How many snaps he played? He obviously played. I don't know if he just played on special teams.
Right. Sure he got some.
Yeah, Sexton had him and Simmons must have been that fourth quarter stuff there. Both Sexton and Simmons had 15 offensive snaps and each had 2 special team snaps.
Okay. Anthony Johnson, of course, with a touchdown. That's a guy that, again, I sound like a broken record here, but just feels like he's almost locked into a practice squad spot for just the versatility, the performance, the special teams value, all positive with him.
21 offensive snaps for Anthony Johnson, 5 special team snaps last night.
Okay, yeah, I mean, they barely had special teams in the second half. They had some kicks, I guess. They didn't punt in the second half of that one overall. But, yeah, I thought a good day. Then Juju, I mean, preseason game was third down over the middle, takes a shot. I mean, that's why you re-sign Juju, because on third down over the middle, that's the guy you're going to target.
Tight ends, Freiermuth, clunky start, but he got better, I thought, as it went on there.
Yeah, I mean, again, context here, first game for him, second game for a lot of other Steelers, granted the first game for the opponent, for the Eagles, but, just happy that he's out there taking that first step, seeing the field, so I'm not going to try to overreact one way or another to his performance. Just happy that he was out there, but yeah, holding on the first call. We'll see what the rest of the game looked like. I don't have a good impression of his blocking the rest of the way. He said, some things he wants to work on, of course, 1 catch for 6 yards. So again, just the idea of him being available, getting his feet wet, That was the most important thing to me.
Gentry, I thought, run blocking, I thought, the area that you want to see him improve in, I think that's improved. He had a drop, I think, in that game. As well. But you talked about no, was it him or Radar? No, you talked about Radar and he had drops. I think you talked about Gentry and then he goes have drops. Stop talking about these tight ends like that. But I thought Gentry did a few good, nice things in the run blocking department. I didn't focus in a lot on Radar last night, so I don't have a good sense until I go back through it a third time here to see how he played.
Yeah, he had one catch. I think it came on third down, on 3rd and 11 play that was kind of low, and he made the slide and grab for it. So that was a nice catch overall. But I imagine they blocked okay with how well the team ran. I'll have to go back and check. But usually if you're getting off those kinds of runs, the tight ends are doing their job as well.
All right. Let's see. I think we wiped out all the offense here, didn't we?
Yeah, let's flip over to the Steelers' defense and defensive line. Continues to impress me, Dave. Isaiah Loudermilk, I think, is having a really strong camp, really playing well inside these stadiums. I had a pass deflection, a half sack. He's getting off of blocks. He's staying clean. He's got a good motor. That's a guy that I think is starting to create some separation in terms of him beginning to etch his way on the 53.
He flashed about 3 or 4 plays at least that I have noted since going through it twice. So I thought he played well. I thought Chris Wormley played well early on in that game. I'm trying to think who else kind of stuck out to me on the defensive line there. I thought Carlos Davis was okay. I thought Buggs was okay. Mondo, I didn't see anything really flashy there, I don't think, with him. Who else on the defensive line? Your boy Abdullah Anderson, I didn't really even notice him in the game.
Yeah. How many snaps did he play? I don't have a snap count.
I
don't believe you.
Many, I don't think.
5, 10.
Let me see here.
Maybe some nickel packages late in that one. Probably not a lot of snaps, I'm guessing.
I'm trying to find him on the list here.
Yeah, I'm just vamping.
He's on down here. 3.
Okay, yeah. When it takes that long to find them, it's not a lot of snaps.
Way down the list of 80 whatever number of players that played last night.
All right. How about Carlos Davis running down kicks? He's trying to do the Mondo thing. A really good athlete. I think he's explosiveness. He's got that Javon Hargrave kind of build. Who's a little like top heavy, kind of runs with a real forward lean to his game. But yeah, I don't know if he's going to actually run down kicks here in the regular season, but maybe. And the more things you can do, the more value you're going to have. So that was interesting to see.
21 snaps for him on defense, and remember that I think the Eagles had 10 total second half offense.
My charting is going to be really. I was super happy.
Poor Tom. I was putting that together. I thought, man, I'm making a mistake here, man. It's like 80 something.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And then I realized, oh man, yeah, you drew the long stick, and Tom drew the short one this time around here. For sure.
It'll come back to bite me, I'm sure. Week 1, it'll be like the opposite. I'll just be swarmed with charting.
But who else? Let's see, defensive line there. Obviously, Tyson Alualu, Cameron Hayward, Stephon Tuitt did not play in this one at all. But, I mean, this is 2 weeks in a row that kind of top to bottom overall, big picture, the defensive linemen that were out on the field played well. And that's a good sign.
And this whole front 7, outside linebackers included, just getting a ton of pressure in both games. I mean, and that's without Watt, without Hayward, without Tuitt, without Alualu. And so this group is going to be, I think, just a force. Talk about the edge guys. I thought, again, strong performances from Alex Highsmith, from Melvin Ingram. I mean, even Roche, Jameer Jones. Those guys just get after it every single week. And you just have so much pass rush juice up front that it's really hard to contend with.
Yeah, good to see number 8 out there running around. I know we kind of wondered, well, are they going to play him or not? And, I think I even asked you, is Ingram going to play? And you had a pretty good sense that he was, and he did. And I tell you, my biggest takeaway when it comes to Ingram and his play, he looked healthy. He looked fully healthy, and he looked grown man strong. And there was a bull rush over there, I think, on the left side one of those plays where he just you got a full grasp of the strength that he has there. And the other thing that was notable while he was in the game, and him and Highsmith played on opposite sides during that game as well too early. So that's good to get those guys work on both sides. Obviously Ingram has worked both sides during his career. Highsmith not so much, but I mean Highsmith looked just as good over on the left side as we've seen him on the other side. Jameer Jones is a guy that continues to flash, as is Quincy Roche. It's hard to imagine if neither of those guys make the 53. It's hard to imagine them not being practice squad guys. I mean, those guys at this point seem at least locks there. I think Jameer Jones was even in on a special teams tackle or two. That's always how you help your value there. Marsh, less noticeable this game, I think, than he was obviously in the first game. But I don't think that means he played bad. I haven't gone that deep in the tape right now. But I mean, I think you just kind of hit on it. I think top to bottom, especially the guys that played the outside linebackers as a group, just as with the defensive line, played well.
Yeah, I mean, Jameer Jones had a sack. It came off of a stunt that was a little clunky, but got the job done. Had the pressure quarterback hit on the Justin Lane.
Was that Loudermilk he ran into?
I think it was Mondo. It was one of those two.
They did kind of get crossed up over there on the game.
Yeah, there's a timing there where the first guy, the crasher, has to go, then the blooper has to come in over the top. So just some miscommunication there, but cleaned things up and made the play ultimately. And the pressure on the Justin Lane interception, it's Tomlin talking about rush and cover going together the way that Jameer Jones had it on the last interception with Steiner, right? In the first game, correct? It was Jameer Jones. So he's now directly influenced 2 interceptions off of his pressure. Granted, he came in unblocked on that play against the Eagles, but still the play's the play and led to the interception and the special teams tackle, 1, maybe 2 of them. So that's a guy that, I mean, if he doesn't make the practice squad, I mean, he's definitely earned a spot, maybe more so than any other player, from a guy that was just unknown, very, very small odds. We thought of him making it, before camp started, to a guy that has done everything he can and then some to stick around on this team in some capacity.
Inside linebackers, I mean, not much really. Buddy Johnson was the best player, best inside linebacker the team had. I thought, Marcus Allen played, I thought, decent.
His tackling was good,
Yeah, his tackling was good there. When those two are the guys that stick out in their limited amount of snaps that they played in a preseason game, it's time to trade for Joe Schobert.
Yeah, well, what do you think of Devin Bush's return? Was that Zach Ertz that welcomed him back to the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, look, first game, I mean, get him out there moving around. I mean, you'd like to see better results, but. I mean, it is what it was. It's the first game back.
Right. Yeah, I was happy to see that. So I'm not putting too much stock into it. Here's my thing, though, with Devin Bush. He's a really good athlete, of course. So why does he struggle in coverage a bit? I mean, the size hurts him to some degree, sure. But I think he tries to initiate too much contact mid-route. And he tried to do that against, I think it was Ertz who caught that pass, right? That 34-yarder?
On the right side, I think it was, yeah.
Okay. Regardless, at the top of that route, he's trying to really, bump him. And he kind of gets himself off balance there. You see him as he bumps him, and as Ertz runs to the corner, he's a little off balance. He's trying to regain his footing. And so I think he needs to play a little less physical downfield. Obviously, if you're jamming someone off the line within that 5 yards, you can bump a little bit. But I think he needs to play a little cleaner because he tries to initiate so much contact. And he's a smaller guy, so he's gonna hurt himself more because he's gonna kind of get recoil from that. So I think he's got to play a little bit cleaner and allow him just to stay balanced and in phase and trying to really initiate contact and kind of gets himself knocked off balance.
All right. And once again, I think Buddy only played 7 snaps or something like that.
That it?
Well, because him and, let's see, Buddy Johnson had 7 snaps, 10 special team snaps.
The Eagles just didn't have any snaps.
Yeah, they did. I mean, you almost rooting for for the Eagles to hold on to the ball for a little bit so you can see some guys play there.
Right.
But
how many second half snaps did they have? It was
10 plays. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that makes sense. Just they had 42 snaps total as an offense. So I guess there just aren't many snaps there for the defense to evaluate.
Marcus Allen had 9 defensive snaps, so he played almost all of their second half defensive possessions there. As I said, Buddy Johnson had 7. All right, so now we look forward to the Joe Schobert era in the inside linebacker position now.
Yeah, I mean, so you feel like that's a pretty big upgrade, a substantial upgrade from Robert Spillane?
Here's the way I look at it. It's a better ad than Avery Williamson a year ago. And it makes them a lot better playing alongside Devin Bush now. So to what degree, we're going to find out. But this was a needed ad. A very smart player on top of there, and I think it's a better ad than it was Avery Williamson last year.
Yeah, this team is not afraid to trade for some off-ball linebackers, are they? Williamson, Schobert trading up for Devin Bush. Yeah, just interesting thought there. But yeah, we'll see. I want to look at his 2020 tape some more, but I think it is an upgrade at the very least, but an expensive one at that.
I mean, I don't look at it as being. I mean, look, whatever money you have to push forward with a restructure, so be it. Because Jaguars are eating the other proration of the signing bonus. So what are they paying? $15 million for one season, $18 million.
Something like that
for one season. There, boy, they and you can look and maybe the tape will tell the story from last season with the Jaguars there, but. You had to do something there, and you get a guy that you know well, a guy that super smart. So we'll see how it goes from there.
Yeah, and still waiting on final details there. In the secondary, what were your thoughts on the secondary last night? Rough start for the first teamers.
Yeah, Sutton didn't have the best game. I didn't think in coverage there. Oh, wow. I'm trying to roll through my head here. Justin Lane, I mean, that's a Russian coverage interception for Lane. You don't fault it. You make the play, But hey, here's the thing before that stuck out to me the most. I think Lane came up and made a nice run tackle, I think, the play right before that. So that stuck out to me, and then you turn around and you make another play with the interception out of there. So good for him because he's got to start making plays. The other thing that really stuck out, special teams related, is he is a damn good gunner, man. He can get downfield. I don't know if that's going to be a saving grace or not, but him and James Pierre can get down there, for whatever that's worth.
The touchdown that Quez Watkins had, the 79-yarder. Do you fault Edmonds there? I know a lot of people
you got to turn that
he was
back
outside. Yeah, he was pulling that back to himself.
You got to turn that. You got to make sure that stays inside and let the next guy. If you try to do too much there, then he goes out around you and flies. All right. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I want to look at it a couple more times, but I looked at it, once again this morning here. I mean, you got to set that edge essentially and force it back inside to help. And
I'm with you.
And if Norwood doesn't get too antsy with that, takes a better angle on that, then it goes for like a 12 yard gain or whatever there. So I put the big play really on and the touchdown on Norwood there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It was a good play call too. Steelers were sending Millette on the blitz. They were blitzing a lot early in that game, and Watkins runs legit 4.35, and so that's one of the fastest dudes on the field, showing those wheels. So,
and who was the tight end? I mean, that's a battle that your Edmonds is probably going to lose anyway. So the best thing to do is to set it and force it back inside. Hell, who's that? Ertz over there on him on that one, or
probably? I'm not sure who it was, but
it was
a
big old tight end. I'd tell you that.
Yeah. Speaking of that, how about just sidebar here? Dan Moore in space, another receiver screen getting out in space. Just a really athletic guy who can, that's going to be necessary in this scheme, running out in space on screens, on pull, second level type stuff. So I think he's really showing that athletic ability in the open field.
Very good.
Lafayette Pitts with the interception. That was a good play. So Owen talking about that one. Nice to see a new guy make the play and undercut that dig route and pick the ball off.
The only thing you wonder about there is Mullins has got to see that earlier and hit that. So, sure. But once again, you don't fault the player on the other end for something that the other team fails to do.
Right.
If Mullins sees that and gets rid of that ball quicker, then it might be a touchdown. I don't know. It'd be a long gain, that's for sure. But reading the outside in, right? in a cover 3 situation.
Yeah, just the ball awareness, the ball hawkingness, if that's a word, of this group, to me is just really impressive. And I think Terrell Austin sets that standard, and the rest of the group responds to it.
Tackling, other than the big play, I thought tackling the catch was okay. I thought on the outside there or all the way around the corners. Millette was very active. I don't know if that was good. He was having to do a lot there, but I want to go back and watch him. I thought he was good coming up on run support. I think on one particular play that I saw in the backfield, maybe there or right at the line of scrimmage there. Still kind of question him in coverage, though.
Right. Yeah, the question with these slot corners is, can Brooks cover? Can Millette cover? I don't know if I have a great answer on that yet. Millette feels like it's going to be just at best average play in coverage, and at worst it's going to look kind of ugly at times.
It's a shame that Antoine Brooks Jr. couldn't play in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a guy that needs as many reps as possible. So Millette took advantage, but hopefully Brooks can get back out there for the Lions game.
I didn't focus much on Killebrew. What did you see about out of Miles Killebrew?
Just the one play was at third down. He's near the ball. He's making the tackle. It was at 3rd and 15, little dump off, little diving tackle, took out the legs of the Eagles player and took him down. So that guy's not going to produce a lot of splash, but he's going to make just every tackle this season.
One I got it in my notes here. Jameer Jones chasing after the football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Highsmith as well.
So saw that. I wanted to make sure I got that out there. I thought Jameer Jones did a good job of that. I'm trying to think if anything else stuck out to me with the defensive backs, because man, they not much, because they only had 10 offensive snaps in the second half, and how many of those were runs? Yeah. If Hurts gets that ball out there on target on that early, that's a 98-yard touchdown probably.
Down the left sideline? Yeah, to Sutton, yeah. And again, Sutton got beat, but that is to do with is there a concern about just the overall lack of speed in the second? I had a terrible take on that this offseason. Just none of these corners are super athletic, super fast. Now, granted, they weren't last year either, and so maybe, it's not a new issue, but none of these corners run that well.
Well, I think it goes back to kind of things people don't like us to talk about, and that's how rush and coverage go hand in hand. So the better the rush is from the Steelers' front 7, the better the coverage is probably going to look. If you don't have that pass rush, I think you're opening up yourself for some big play situations there.
Yeah, but I just look at the situation. The Ravens still have a lot of speed with Hollywood Brown, with Sammy Watkins. Granted, Bateman seems like he's going to miss some time. The Bengals draft Jamar Chase, who ran in the 4.3s. The Browns still have, they're going to get Odell Beckham Jr. back. They got Donovan Peoples-Jones. Some of these corners run? Because obviously you can't rely on your coverage every single time. So you do worry about, will you have to play some more too high or be careful with some things because your corners will not be able to keep up. But again, the counterpoint to that would be this corner group was not super fast last year with Steven Nelson, with Mike Hilton, of course with Joe Hayden, and they still played well.
If you were to making a decision based on what you have seen right now, what does your nickel look like?
Sutton to the slot, Pierre at right corner.
I'm with you.
I think it's the combination.
The one thing that I'm starting, I think, notice, and maybe you can back this up from what you've seen with camp. Sometimes I think Pierre wants to turn and run a little bit too quick, and then that opens him up for the comeback or the curl, super easy or the out or something like that. Is that something maybe that you've noticed with Pierre?
I know that happened on the early in that. You're talking about that one play on the right side,
right?
Early last night. Yeah, my impression though overall has been that he can be too aggressive, and sometimes he's too late opening up his hips, and he wants to drive downhill and make the big play.
Well, maybe I know maybe he overcompensated then.
Yeah, I think he needs a better feel for stuff. And for Sutton, by the way, I know it wasn't a great game for Cam Sutton, but I imagine he's a guy that really thrives whenever you have a good game plan, you're doing good film study on opponents, because he's so freaking smart. And so I think whenever he doesn't have that and he's just kind of going in blind against just an opponent, he has no idea what their tendencies are and who these guys he's facing really is. I think that makes him look a little bit worse. So I know it was not a good game for Cam Sutton last night, but I imagine just these circumstances of preseason probably doesn't fit into how he succeeds.
Okay. But I'm with you on nickel like that right now.
Yeah. Just think the most proven guy is your best 5. Play your best 5. That's my approach.
They got to do something at the backup free safety spot still. I think. I think Norwood's just too inexperienced right now.
Well, what do you do? Do you trade? Do you free agent?
Something? Yeah, I don't think Colbert's done. And
I mean, Norwood wouldn't have to be the backup. I mean, it could be theoretically Millette. It could be Cam Sutton. I mean, it doesn't have to be Trey Norwood. There are options at the very least.
Yeah,
now are they good options is a different question.
Right. I won't be surprised if that's a position they add, nor will I be surprised if a veteran center, there. I don't think we're true or false. We'll see another outside ad on the 53
in any capacity, trade, signing,
someone who's not on the 90 now will end up on the 53.
Yeah, I still think it's true.
I do too.
I don't think it'll be at the level of the Joe Schobert trade, but I think someone else. And I think free safety certainly makes a lot of sense. I would not be opposed to that. This team's been looking for free safeties with Carl Joseph, with Malik Hooker. And I think Norwood has some potential. I think it's a guy that you want to think about carrying on this roster, but obviously he's not ready to play in the NFL right now.
Right.
One quick question here, another sidebar. Do you dislike Najee Harris's hurdling? Would you rather him not do that, especially in the preseason? I'm okay with it.
Well, here's the thing. It's embedded in him.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You drafted him, and that's part of his game.
I mean, you go back. I remember right after and I watched a lot of tape on him before he got drafted. But after he was drafted, going back and looking at more instances of that, and going all the way back to, high school days. That's what he does. So, obviously, the more you do it, the more chances you probably run to getting clocked in the Harris Juniors, but and maybe coming down wrong or something like that. How do you tell a guy that instinctually has done that his entire career, really had a lot of success? It's one thing to if he's done it in the past and just not successful at it,
right.
But he has hurdled a lot of good college football players, and did so successfully as well too. So, I just don't see how you kind of take that out of him. To be honest with you, I think it's in him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's just part of his game. Part of the reason why you drafted him. He does special things the guys of his size shouldn't be able to do. And I understand the risk, and it certainly makes you hold your breath, but he can get hurt doing anything. He can get hurt not hurdling. So, the whole not living your fear kind of thing, that's part of his game. And, dude, he can do it. That hurdle, he had that first one. That dude he hurt, I have the clip on Twitter. It's Anthony Harris. He's 6'1". The dude barely ducked his head, and Harris cleared him, literally cleared him. And he got kind of put in the pile and taken down by some other Eagles players. But, just the hops that guy has at that size is just ridiculous.
Yeah, and I just go back to it's just I understand people probably take an issue with it, but it is who he is. It's what he's done. It's all over his tape.
Yeah, and when he does that in week 4 for a 50-yard touchdown, no one's gonna be complaining about him hurdling. That's the way it's gonna go. But any other thoughts? Special teams.
He's gonna get a lot of touches this year if he stays healthy.
All the touches. Yeah. Special teams. Jordan Berry not making this punter battle easy. Great game for him in the first half. I don't know if he was supposed to punt in the second half or it was going to be Harvin. My guess is Harvin, but we never got to find that out. But Berry 2 stellar punts in this one.
Boy, if you thought I don't know, maybe they can whip him around for a 7th. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. They did it with Brad Wing. I think Berry's punting better than Brad Wing basically ever did.
All right. So at this point, I don't know if I let him punt anymore the rest of the preseason. I let that because I let that be his tape right now, to be honest with you, and see if maybe I can flip him for a 7th or something.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you definitely will, but I think it's possible. He punted well last season when he came back, and he's punting well right now, having a good camp, having a good preseason. So, would it shock me if they got a 7th round pick for him? No, it wouldn't. And if they could do that and keep Harvin, if he keeps punting the way he's punting, then that's the best situation imaginable.
Then it's a whole wash right then, All right. In other words, you get the 7th that you spent on Harvin, you get back, and why not? Yeah. I'd try.
Keep your 7th and you get a good punter. So but shout out to Jordan Berry. I know everyone, and I've been certainly responsible for hyping up Harvin and camp, but I tweeted that out last week. Berry's having a good camp. Right. His numbers are strong. He's having a good performance. So I don't want to dismiss him just because obviously everyone loves the new chonky punter.
All right, where are we at in this thing now?
Are you talking about the show or the
everything.
Steelers or general existence?
Yes.
Yeah. Where are we in life? No, it was just a good game overall. No major injuries, right? Nothing serious.
Mike Tomlin didn't reveal anything. I think someone said maybe Pierre got bumped. Did you see Pierre get kind of twisted up or something?
Someone asked me his hand or something. Someone asked me about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at that on the full version. I didn't see anything that stuck out first couple times through there. Just keep your fingers crossed that's the case there. I think Dotson goes back to being. Oh, well, here's what I was going to ask you. Mm-hmm. Finney versus Coward. Is that such a thing right now? Can that be kind of called into question any?
I think it's more Finney versus Hassenauer.
Okay.
Still. I mean, are you talking about in terms of like having a spot in the 53, a hat on game day?
No, I assuming Hassenauer makes the roster, it could there be a situation where it's Finney versus Coward?
I wouldn't think so. They know Coward's a developmental guy. I mean, he's really, really raw still. So I think the way Tomlin's talked him up, I think he has shown improvement. He's, taken a ton of reps this year. And I'm not assuming Hassenauer's on the roster either. I mean, okay, let me ask you this. Who has ranked them in terms of who has the strongest security on a roster spot right now? Hassenauer, Finney, and Coward.
Hassenauer first.
Really?
Yeah. And then Coward, and then Finney. But I don't think there's. I mean, once again, Finney's a better guard than he is a center. Plain and simple.
I agree. I'm just curious, what has you putting Hassenauer over Coward in terms of the strongest chance to make the roster?
Just because it seems like there's dead set on him being the backup center right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go Coward, Hassenauer, Finney in my order.
Now, obviously, if they make a deal for a veteran center, that all goes out the door.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah, I like where this team is at overall. I think the trench guys did really well last night, and I was really encouraged to see that.
I think we have to remember, though, it was what it was, though, right? Last night, it was the Steelers' second preseason game, the Eagles' first preseason game, so we need to wrap a big old context bow around that thing.
Yeah, that's fair. But like you said, you can only control what you're controlling, block what you're blocking, and it's all the Steelers can do right now.
Right. And game ball to me goes to the second team offensive line, I think.
Yeah, I thought Dan Moore, Dotson in particular, really strong last night. All right, Dave, any other final thoughts? If not, we get to some read emails and close out today's show.
All right, let's do that. Damian Anderson writes in, not saying we do, ... However, if we did want to keep Haskins past the 1-year contract he is on, what is the process? What can't we do? Is he exclusive rights, free agent, or whatever else? All right, Damien, good question. Haskins is set to be a restricted free agent after this season. So, and being a former first-round draft pick, it's one of those rare situations where, man, an original round tender is certainly more than enough situation there, because an original round tender is the lowest cost tender, and also it attaches original round to him. So a team would have to give you a first round draft pick to sign him to a offer sheet there, and I don't think teams are going to be interested in doing that. So you're looking at about, I forget what the number is, $2-something million on a restricted original round tender after the season's over there that will easily retain a guy like Dwayne Haskins. And then, obviously it depends on, I wouldn't think that you extend him next offseason unless you could get a super friendly deal done with him. And hopefully he doesn't have to play a lot in 2021. But if you're forced to, if he played in 2021 and played well, then obviously you'd have to maybe, do something there. But I mean, you can obviously use his free agent status being early in the process kind of against him, if you will, and basically the way I see it playing out is if indeed they want to retain him after the 2021 season, you just slap a restricted tender on him, original round, and then see what happens after the 2022 season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have cheap team control. You have some options there with Haskins. So if you want to tender him as an RFA at the original round level, that basically ensures that you're going to keep him for 2022, and so you have him, really cheap cost control through next season. So that's a good place to be.
Pastor Joe Green writes in, Dave and Alex, Schobert and Watt were teammates at Wisconsin, correct? Yes. This adds a wrinkle. I really love this guy as a player. By the way, a hectic week for you two, but I truly appreciate all your hard work. Best Steelers coverage on the net. Thank you, Pastor Joe. Hopefully you enjoyed our conversation about Schobert early in the show. Sim Football Critic writes in, what's up, guys? Been a while since I sent a question, but I've been listening to each podcast and special training camp recaps. Can't begin to thank you enough for providing the best content in the business. Dave, this is a short and sweet. I think he's coming after me for something. With Joe Schobert having a $7 million guarantee, how do the Steelers fit that into their current cap? Also, what effect, if any, does it have on TJ Watt's extension? Has zero effect on TJ Watt. So go ahead and let me get that part of the question out of there. Meaning, do they have to find money somewhere else to get TJ done and take on Schobert? I think we already hit it. Look, it's gonna depend on. We're waiting on more details on the Schobert thing. Let's find out how much of the salary, if any, the Jaguars are eating of that $7 million. And if they aren't eating anything, I would or very little, expect the Steelers just to restructure that down. So that's not going to be a huge issue for the Steelers at all from a cap perspective. I would expect something gets done with that right away. I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, to see kind of those per game roster bonuses go away and all like that. But it's all going to be predicated on how much do the Jaguars eat of that $7 million. We don't know yet, so hopefully by the time the Monday podcast rolls around, maybe we'll know a little bit more about that. He says possible surprise cut is a question, Alex. Pretty sure by the time you see this, you will have already answered it during the podcast. Either way, thanks for the information. All right, possible surprise cut, Alex.
It's a good question. I don't know if one name comes to mind here. Possible surprise. I'm trying to think of some veteran guy who we think is going to make the roster. Ultimately, obviously, wouldn't make it. I mean, does a Marcus Allen count? I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just trying to pick a name right now.
Does a Benny Snell count? I don't know.
At this point, I think people wouldn't be as surprised as they would have been a couple weeks ago. But that's probably as good a name as you could throw out there at this point.
Trying to think of maybe a DB. Justin Lane probably not going to surprise anybody.
Millette. Does Millette not make it?
I don't think
you floated that idea.
I don't know if it would be surprising. I don't think there's anybody super shocking that I could see maybe at this point, right?
Chris Wormley. I don't know. I'm really thinking outside the box here.
Yeah, maybe a Wormley, but he's played good the first two preseason games.
But you want a surprise? I mean.
Right.
You got to pick someone who's playing well, not someone who's playing poorly.
I guess that would be the most plausible of them. Would maybe be a Wormley, but once again, I thought he's played well so far.
And they literally just re-signed him, so I would say wanted to bring him back. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense. Let me ask you a dumb question here on the Schobert deal. The Jaguars absorb all that guaranteed money, right? How does that work in terms of a trade?
No, just the bonus proration. They eat what's left on the bonus proration.
Of the entire contract.
Right. So the Steelers inherit a player that now has no bonus proration.
Okay.
In any of the years. All that goes into the Jaguars' dead money. Right. But the way they split that up now is they just only eat his 2021 proration in 2021, and then the Jaguars then eat the rest in 2022 against their cap there. But the Steelers have zero proration on the Schobert contract now. Okay,
so they wouldn't. I mean, they'll putting the restructure aside here for a moment. They really don't have any sort of dead money if they were ever to release Schobert, a year or two from now, hypothetically. Is that accurate?
The only guaranteed money he has is that base salary of his now, and they're obviously not going to cut him now. So there's no dead money possibility as we stand right now. Now we'll see if they obviously if they restructure this and turn a lump of his base salary this year into a signing bonus, then you obviously run the potential. But other than that, no, there is zero proration on his contract when the Steelers get it.
Okay, so I misspoke early in the show and was talking about that stuff. I think I'm just trying because these trades still always kind of screw with me, especially because usually you don't see trades of this contract, happen, especially in Pittsburgh. So okay, got you now.
All right, so we will wait. And that's the big question. The big question now is how much of that salary, if any, is are the Jaguars eating? That's the only thing. That's one of the main things that we don't know right now.
And if they do eat it, it's just going to be for this season, not eating future.
Right. They're not going to eat future salary. The Steelers are just going to try to get them to take. It'd be nice if they got him to take all, but say I think his new minimum would be $990,000 if I'm not mistaken. It'd be nice if the Steelers got the Jaguars to take 6.1 or whatever the math is on that out of there. If he did that, I mean. Get that Vince McMahon strut gift ready there on top of everything else. Look, we're speculating here. We don't know yet.
Yeah, I think I'm going to guess like 2.5, $3 million is probably what they'll eat.
Yeah, isn't that what the early speculation is from the PFF account? Or
I think so. I think I saw something. I've heard some stuff that it's going to be like around 2.5.
And let's say it's 2.5, and it lowers his base down to 5.5. You're still probably going to want to restructure that,
Yeah, and take it down to the minimum, I guess.
If you're going to do it,
well.
Yeah, take it down to 990, and once again, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that $300,000 in per game roster bonuses there. If they leave it for this year, then see next year, whether or not he makes the roster, and then if obviously look if Schobert shows you something this year and you keep him past this year. Who knows what their cap, right now the cap situation looks fine, but you keep adding all these things on, you take a little slice of the pie here, a little slice of the pie here, that stuff starts adding up. Obviously he would become a restructure candidate again if need be, if you kept him, past this season here.
Yeah, my thought with, Colbert doing these voidable year extensions with the dead money, the Schobert deal, the Watt deal, the Minka deal that's coming up next year, it's like, man, we have so much freedom without having to pay a franchise quarterback now. It's first time he's ever had to do that, basically, at least in 15 years. So he's taking advantage of that.
Right. But I mean, everybody's assuming Ben's gone, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't want to. I'm a little tongue in cheek there, but a little not as well, because obviously it's not guaranteed.
Well, we'll see there. Let's see what else we have in the email machine before we get out of here. I'm hyped up today. Can you tell?
Yeah, you bringing it. I respect it. I'm less bringing it. I apologize.
I am the Melvin Ingram of the podcast today.
What a great post game presser he had.
Melvin Ingram. That guy, how good is that? And I think we mentioned this right after his initial training camp presser. That guy is good on the podium.
He is, yeah. Really good answer. Says he loves it here. I mean, he says all the things you would expect him to say. But, really, really good guy and playing really well, too.
All right, Ashley Lawson writes in, hey, David Alex, whose iron is sharpening? I almost sound like a Yinzer, don't I?
A little bit.
Stuttering Yinzer. That would be my next Twitter handle, I think. The Stuttering Yinzer. Whose iron is sharpening? Which offense versus defense battle has been strongest to date? I know Alex mentioned Claypool versus Sutton early on, but not heard as much lately. Which position group has been above initial expectations? Which position group has been the most competitive? Loving the S&D training camp coverage.
That's a good question. I don't know if I have an answer.
That's all you.
I don't know if I have an answer for position group. I mean, yeah, Sutton and Claypool have had some good battles. You always get some good battles, receiver, DB stuff, downfield. Again, it was probably more early in camp with some of the backs-on-backer stuff. And Marcus Allen and Najee Harris had some really fun battles in that setting. Trying to think of some other ones here. I mean, it's not been a good battle for Rashad Coward, but Coward versus Cam Hayward. I mean, Hayward's won those more times than not. But, just fun to see Coward take his lumps and get better going against an all-pro like Cam Hayward. But yeah, those Marcus Allen, Najee Harris battles and Claypool Sutton early in camp were a lot of fun to watch.
One more in here, and this is a good. We might say the best one for last. I don't think we've ever gotten a question like this before. Blake Munshell writes in. Looks like he's outside of Baltimore, Maryland here. Quick question. What is preventing a team from buying up all the best positional coaches? If there is no cap on staff salaries, why doesn't an owner like Jerry Jones just buy the best coach, best OC, best DC, etc.? Surely there has to be a reason that they don't do this. Well, how do we know that Jerry doesn't think that he's doing that now, for starters? Here's the thing. You ask executives and whoever around the owners around the league who they think they are, who they think the best positional coaches are at each and every position and coordinators, you're probably going to get 13 different, answers. That's starters. And second, trying to put a dream team of a coaching staff together. How do you know it's going to mesh well? Coaching staffs are usually built over relationships over time. Certainly is in the case of the Steelers and Mike Tomlin, and really has been really over, a mass part of the NFL over time. You get a good idea of what this defensive coordinator might call it if you're an offensive-minded coach, or if you're an offensive-minded coach, you probably have a relationship with a defensive system like another coach likes to run there. So a lot of coaching staffs have put together correctly. Now, obviously, it takes money to get these guys, and the Steelers are really kind of, I think, notoriously kind of cheap outside of giving head coaches raises and all like that. But that would be my best answer to the question. Just because you put a dream team of coaches together doesn't mean that you won't have internal problems that way. People getting along, sort of situation, coaches fighting coaches and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a couple answers to it. I think what you said is definitely accurate. It also would just be really, really expensive, and owners want to win, but owners like keeping their money too. That's why they're owners in the first place. So there's that element to consider. And then also just hard to retain. You put together the best coaching staff in football, they'll be together for about one season because they're going to get poached and promoted as OC and head coach, over the next couple seasons, presuming that they do a good job. So it's hard to keep those coaching staffs intact.
That is true as well. Good additional point there. I think we got it here.
That was the working title of the Terrible Podcast. Good additional point there. Right. That was our initial name.
What? The name of the podcast fits, right? Still, after all these years, I guess.
If it don't have a choice at this point,
right?
It's been a Terrible Podcast, yeah.
All right. Well, I don't think this was such a terrible podcast, this episode here. Hopefully, people enjoyed it here. Alex and I. Let's see, Alex, you'll be back out there on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. And three more camp practices.
And so we'll have a training camp post-practice, assuming you don't get flushed out by weather again, knock on wood.
Yesterday it stormed like crazy. I thought my power was going to go out. It was really, really bad here in Pittsburgh.
All right, we will run through the tape probably a half a dozen times more. Alex will have his charting done here by next time. The full show runs on Monday. We'll have a lot more details, I'm sure, on the Schobert stuff there and start getting you working toward the Steelers' third preseason game at home at Heinz Field a week from Saturday against the Detroit Lions. Ben Roethlisberger is supposed to play in that one already. We know that. A lot of good stuff coming up on Steelers Depot. I think a couple of film rooms already hitting. Alex has a great already. Boy, I don't know how you found time to get to that one already there. Joe Schobert, kind of a look back at his 2019 against the Browns there. A lot of good content on the way from Steelers Depot through the weekend. We hope that you stop by the site and check it out. So in the meantime there, follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button or upper right navigational bar. Also, if you'd like an ad-free version of the site, $25 for 1 calendar year. Hit the ad-free button up right navigational bar to take advantage of that as well. Alex, enjoyed it. My coffee low light is on right now. I got to go solve that there. So, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.